Welcome to another edition of The Aggregate. I am here with Carl Summer and BJ Big Mix McDonald. Carl, how you doing today?
Blessed, man. Happy to be here.
Yep, any day above the ground is a good day, right?
Yes, sir.
Big Mix, how's it going?
It's going great. I agree. This side of the dirt is awesome.
This side of the if you know the other side of the dirt, we have a whole other show to do. And also, by the way, for those who don't know, Big Mix is the one who actually threw together the little 5-minute sexy version of the music that came in through the beginning. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Co-producer. All right. Today we're talking NFL playoffs. And again, I'm gonna touch upon this and then we're gonna move on. I'm not gonna make it too painful for them. But Carl, what was your Super Bowl prediction again?
Man, I don't want to talk about it. Lions, Ravens, Lions winning it all.
All right, and that's okay. Jody didn't even come on today. I'm pretty sure he was running from his prediction, which was also Lions, Ravens, and yeah. But like I said, I won't make it too painful. Just be that cocky asshole that picked the Chiefs and the Eagles, and they're still alive. But we'll see how that ends up this weekend. That's not come to fruition yet. All right, so let's start real quick with the Lions. Speaking of the devil, so Lions had a great season, best season they've ever had. Expectations were really high going into the playoffs. They got bumped out a little bit early, a lot early, and they lost their offensive coordinator. Ben Johnson is now going to be the head coach of the Bears. They lost their defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. He's going to coach Aaron Rodgers in that street fire that is the Jets. And they actually lost their D-line coach too, which, Carl, I know you'll appreciate the significance of that. Of you lose any position coach, especially a good one, and that's going to hurt. BJ, we'll start with you real quick. What do you expect for the Lions now that they're out 2 coordinators, a line coach? Do you think they can come back and give it a run next year?
It depends on who they get. I mean, they had a top-rated offense. I don't know where they came in defense, but their defense was super solid. Anybody who comes in there just has to put their hand on the wheel, I think, and keep sort of the same vibe that was going on. Not that can be done, but at the same time, you got Jared Goff still there. Mm-hmm. So he had a career year with 37 touchdowns or something like that. So I think anybody who goes in there just has to be careful to keep the personnel and keep playing those personnel and the schemes that they're comfortable with. They should be all right. You're going to see that the whole NFC North with a bunch of parity next year. But if the Lions don't hire the right coaching staff to keep everybody in the groove, then they're going to fall to the bottom.
Yeah, and their head coach is more of a motivator than he is as X and O guy. So up on the screen, we've got Ben Johnson on the left and Aaron Glenn on the right, who Aaron Glenn, I believe, played for the Jets and was a really good corner, played for a couple different teams. So losing everybody, I mean, the Patriots lost coordinators and kept their streak going pretty well, but they had a really, really good head coach and they got in other coordinators. So I think you're right. And Goff, just by the way, before I go to Carl, was named today as one of the 5 finalists for NFL MVP. And he's not going to win it. We all know it's kind of a 2-man race between Allen and Lamar. But, yeah, Goff was right up there. And they haven't lost any players, and they will get all those players back that they got that were injured this year. So, yeah, I think you're right. Coordinators will do. Carl, same deal. What's your take on that? Do you think they've got a good shot at taking the NFC North again?
Yeah, I mean, yes. To answer your question, yes, I do think that they have a good shot to rebound. Dan Campbell's just a hell of a guy, and his connections, from his playing days and his coaching days, he's going to find, guys that are replaceable. It's part of the game, right? And as a coach, I think you guys, J-Mac, this, right? You want your guys to go be successful other places. That shows something, right? So, yeah, I think that they're going to pick back up. Losing the D-line coach hurts because that D-line was going. And, you know, they're not going to lose, I don't think, many players. And so it'll be interesting to see who they get in the draft and who they, you know, get in free agency. And they're going to have to get deeper on the defensive side of the ball. Those injuries they finally caught up to them, right? So they were exposed by the rookie sensation. So.
Yeah, losing Aiden Hutchinson, who we talked about, had 5 sacks in his first 2 games and was Defensive Player of the Year frontrunner, and losing him was big. And you really need that D-line to get after that quarterback, especially in 2025 or 2024 season, I suppose. So you can see there up on the north where everybody ended up, and it's going to be interesting. We don't know what the Vikings quarterback situation is. The Packers kind of seem to be, they are what they are. The Lions could be shaken up. The Bears could be better with Ben Johnson. Bija, we'll go back to you. What do you think? The standings going to look the same? Who do you pick to win this division next year?
I know it boiled down to the Lions or Vikings. As if the Lions can keep their head on their shoulders, they're a lock. The Packers don't really have an identity. The Bears are still, you know, trudging along with Caleb Williams. So, you know, I think there'll be a lot more parity next year. I think the Bears will have a better record. The Packers aren't going to move. I think you're going to be looking at this same lineup, same order next year. That's if the Lions get coaching that they can run with.
Yeah, Carl, would you concur with that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, to be honest with you, I think the Bears and Packers could swap. I mean, we'll see what Johnson brings in for a DC, and, you know, kind of if they can get that defense back to where they were a couple seasons ago, even with a terrible offense. They're, you know, it's tough to win games when you got a shitty offense and subpar defense. So if they can get back to that good level defense, and, you know, if Caleb Williams can take care of the ball and not get sacked 42 times a game, then they'll be in a better place. So, you know, I do think the Bears do have a chance to move. And then the Vikings are just that toss up, right? They could easily take the division, but who knows how good McCarthy's going to be if that's who they end up. All signs are pointing that direction. But, you know, if he is their guy, then who knows, right? But with Justin Jefferson and their defense, they've got a pretty good core group of guys too. So I do think that it's pretty much going to stay the same.
Yeah, it seems that way. And you're right. I think Campbell, he'll find some dudes, because dudes find dudes. And that's what he did. He found 2 really good dudes, and he can find a couple more. So, all right. So on to the games. And we're going to start with the big one, what I'm calling the pre-Super Bowl Super Bowl, the Chiefs and the Bills. And Carl, we'll stay with you here. Well, what does each of these teams need to do or not do to win this game?
Start with the Bills. They've got to be able to run the ball and take care of the ball. Though that's their identity, right? Is being able to.
Uh-oh. We've got technical difficulties. So while he's spinning, and hopefully he knows he's spinning, BJ, we'll go to you.
Well, I think this is a weird one, because you got 2 great teams. Kansas City is their 15-2. They're winning everything, but a lot of those wins are close, and a lot of those wins are due to some suspect refereeing.
So let's put a pin in that, because Terry will love hearing this. So you think Kansas City is getting the calls, or are they just putting themselves in position to get calls, a la the Patriots and players like that?
No, I think was it last week there were 2 roughing the passer calls with helmet to helmet. At least one didn't happen. You see some quarterbacks getting calls like they do in the NBA. So I don't think it's just pointed at the Chiefs necessarily, but there seems to be a referee narrative that's starting to develop in the NFL, much as it has in the NBA. So that's the only reason I would give the edge to the Chiefs, I think. I think it's going to be a really great game, although The Chiefs did lose to the Bills in their first matchup, I think, this season.
They did. The Bills beat them the one they played this year. And it's interesting because if you look at the Bills, they like the regular season versus the Chiefs. They don't like the postseason. So let's bring this up here. Carl, by the way, texted me and said that their power went out.
Oh, geez.
So we may or may not get Carl back, but we'll see. If not, it's up to us to carry the load here.
Yeah, there goes our expert.
That's right. That's right. The only one who's actually played high level football.
Yes.
But that's not going to stop us from acting like we know what we're talking about. So regular season 3-1 Bills versus the Chiefs, and then 0-3 in the playoffs. So they've struggled, and it's been the last couple of years too that Kansas City's bounced Buffalo out. So it'll be interesting for me to see if they kind of get the jitters and are like, oh shit. Because I mean, once you've been punched in the mouth by somebody, you don't want to walk by them in the hallway like, a second time. Like,
yeah,
you get kind of wary, and are they going to try and do too much? Are they going to try and not be themselves? I think we're getting Carl back here. Give me one moment. Yeah, Carl, you're back. You got to pay that electric bill, motherfucker.
Dude, it just flicked, and of course my laptop's always running on E, so yeah.
No worries. So we were just talking about, again, we'll reset with you here, but I'll bring you up to speed here from the last couple minutes. So Chiefs and Bills, BJ touched upon the narrative that is going around about the officiating, and the Chiefs might have a little bit of an advantage there. They are at home. Oh, put a pin in that. Have you guys seen these AI apps where you can make people like kiss each other and stuff like that?
I've seen the ref kiss Mahomes a few times.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah. And so I turned that on today, and it's so disturbing. I was like, what the hell? It's gone too far. I would have totally done that when Brady was playing, though. But it is, again, these Chiefs do remind me a lot of those Patriots. And I always teased about referees, and they suck. Well, the Patriots did get all the calls. But when you're prepared and you're talented, you end up, and you give effort, you end up getting a lot of those calls. I mean, that's how it always goes. That's why the best players get the calls. That's why, in NBA, it's been going on for a long, long time. The talented players are going to get the calls because they're just better prepared. They're in good situations, and they're just more talented. I think that's what's happening here with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are also really smart. I think they play good fundamental football. We also talked about, you can see the graphic on the screen, Carl, about Josh Allen, great regular season versus the Chiefs. Can't get it done in the postseason. And this is getting to be very, again, let's go back to the Patriots. It's getting very Peyton Manning and Tom Brady here. Yeah. About some point, Josh Allen has to get over the hump. So I'll turn it back to you, Carl. And so what do you think the Chiefs need to do and the Bills need to do to get past this game and onto the Super Bowl?
Yeah. So like I said, Bills got to take care of the ball, and they got to run the football. They're going to set up that kind of play action, deep shot. Got to take advantage of those. And then I think for the Chiefs, they just have to take what's available, as they've always done, right? They run their kind of, Kelsey just doesn't have a true route, kind of finds the opening. They're doing that deep shot down the field with Xavier Worthy. The one thing that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to run the football as well. And I think that's going to be kind of the difference maker. If they can get Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, some of those guys to get going a little bit, because I feel like last game they didn't really get going. So if they can get those guys going, they'll have a shot. I do think that, this is in the back of Josh Allen's mind. I've got to win this one, right? And I think his team's going to, they're going to be behind him on that. So I got Bills in 7, right? So that's my hot take. I do think they'll win this game. Sorry, Bills fans, I might have just cursed you, but I do think the Bills pull this off.
They're already cursed. I mean, if you're worried about cursing or quote unquote cursing Bills fans, they're already cursed. Yeah, and just to add to that, and just to throw some coach speak into it, the Chiefs have the worst offensive line left in the playoffs, and their offensive line has been horrible all year. Right? It's been horrible for about 5 years, but they run the ball sparingly. They throw quick short passes, and Mahomes just is magic and makes them work. Right? But Buffalo has a really good defensive line. Ed Oliver is one of the best tackles in the game. And then you got old ass Von Miller, who's 77 and still rushing. He's just been doing it forever. And he's still, boy, he picked up that fumble against Baltimore the other day. I thought he was going to pull a hammy, like I swear to God, when he picked up that thing and he started huffing and puffing and got caught pretty fast, but he's still effective. So I think that's going to be a big part of the game is if the Chiefs can hold up that defensive line, the Bills secondary is suspect and they can expose them a little bit. I think you're right, Carl. I think they need to run the ball. I think you guys are right. Both teams need to take care of the ball. And I can see this coming down to a field goal.
Has anybody looked at the weather? I'm curious to know what the weather is going to be.
I hadn't looked at it. I looked at it the week before because I knew, and we discussed it on last week's show, I knew Lamar did not play well in cold weather, and I knew Josh Allen did. But now I know Josh Allen and Mahomes both play well in cold weather.
I thought he played decent in the snow. I mean,
I thought he did fine.
Look, he's a different tight end away from this being a different conversation. So.
Yeah, and poor Mark Andrews, because that dude, what a good player he is.
Yeah.
Like, he's such a good player normally, and he just, I don't know. He had a tough one. He had the drops. He had the fumbles. Lamar dropped the one, though, really like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like, he just dropped the football. And so, I don't know. And you're right. He did play well, especially the second half. He played a lot better. He had that weird overthrow for the interception. And, I think, I don't know, Josh Allen just knows how to take care of the football. He plays in cold weather. Mahomes plays in cold weather when it gets this time of season. I think this is just going to be two juggernauts going at it. So, BJ, if we'll talk about Josh Allen, what does this do to his legacy either way? So if he wins, what does this do to his legacy? If he loses, what does this do to his legacy?
I still think he's early enough in his career. This isn't going to, it'll be a hit now. If he loses this game, he's going to be considered sort of a wash. In right in the step with Bill's franchise history. If he wins the game, he gets to have the spotlight for a year, but then everybody's back on his ass expecting the same thing next year. And he's just going to have to build on this. This isn't any big hurdle that he's going to have to step over if he loses. It's going to be that's not going to be a great boon to his legacy if he wins. He's sort of that weird middle ground right now.
Yeah, and I agree. He's young. He doesn't have the Jim Kelly get to 4 and lose 4 yet. But he's still pretty young. But so's Mahomes, and so's Lamar, and so's Joe Burrow. Like, I feel like their window is shutting pretty fast in that AFC. Carl, what do you think about legacy and Josh Allen? Where's he fitting in right now, and what would a win or a loss do to it?
I think a win. To me, I think he has to win the Super Bowl this year. And I think that because he has to cement, he needs that ring to kind of put himself in that, I'm a top player in this decade, in his era. And to me, that's Lamar. I know Lamar's got all these MVPs, but you got to win that Super Bowl, right? So if Josh can, he very might be the MVP this year too, right? So if he can double dip, get the MVP and win that Super Bowl, he's going to put himself, in discussion with some of the best ever. the numbers he's putting up. And at what point are some of these players from the Bills going to start leaving, right? If they don't win this, is that team going to implode? Is it, are guys going to lose, ground, or coaches going to be let go? What's going to happen, right? And, so when you got a good group like this, you've got to take advantage of it. And he is the right guy to get him over the hump. So hopefully he can do it.
Yeah. And like I said, windows open and close so fast in the NFL. Like you never know what can happen year to year. But if you get that one, Peyton Manning gets his one, it gets that monkey off his back. Steve Young gets his one and, did the literal get the monkey off my back motion. Drew Brees getting one. I mean, just getting into that club, like you said, just kind of getting there makes the difference when you talk about legacy. So, we'll see if he can do it. But like I said, this is my de facto Super Bowl. I think whoever wins this is going to beat whoever comes out of the NFC. And I'm still picking Chiefs. BJ, who do you have? Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with the Bills this one, and I think they're even enough that it boils down to their offensive efficiency through the regular season, and if they can the Bills can keep that up. They were like 30 points a game. Chiefs were at 20, 22. So all things being equal, I'm going with the Bills.
Okay, and we've already got Carl's decision on the Bills by about 7 points. I'm sticking with the Chiefs. I'm sticking to my Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl. I think that's how it's gonna be. And of course, I reserve the right to shame you guys if Kansas City wins. I will come eat crow next week if the Chiefs lose. I will come on here and I will bow down, and I'll let you guys know. But you know what? We let people repick on the aggregate. We reseed. We're not like the NCAA. We reseed after every round. So whether it's football or basketball, you get a redo. All right.
Right.
Let's move on to Eagles and Commanders, or as I like to call them, the Redskins, because I'm a 48-year-old white man. So interesting game here. Lots of stories. You've got Jaden Daniels, rookie sensation. You've got Saquon Barkley, 2,000-yard rusher. Not a lot of 2,000-yard rushers go deep into the playoffs, and I think Terrell Davis might be the only one with a Super Bowl. It just doesn't happen. And in 2024 season, you don't see rushers leading their team into the Super Bowl. It's all led by quarterbacks and receivers, or it's all led by defenses. This rusher, he's pretty damn good, Saquon Barkley, who was also on the list, by the way, today of finalists for the MVP award. So with Burrow, with Lamar, with Josh Allen. So, so let's go with Carl. Let's start with you. What do you think of Eagles Commanders? What do they have to do to get on to the Super Bowl?
Man, Eagles, I feel like they just got to be healthy. I don't know what's going on with Hurts. I know that they said, he's been at walkthroughs and kind of been on the rebound. He's going to play, right? But how healthy is he? I don't know. They've got to be able to do what they do, and that's run the football, hit a big play here and there with the pass. Defensively is where I'm worried about the Eagles. Jaden Daniels is slinging that thing, and he's on fire right now. I saw something today that said, is he the best rookie quarterback ever? And it really makes you think, like, what he's done this year with a team that had no business winning as many games as they did and now going this far, he might be the best rookie quarterback ever. And if he wins this, that argument is definitely in play. And I think after what I saw last week, cool, calm, composed, like they've got a shot. That defense is not talked about enough. They made Jared Goff look silly. And I know Jared Goff will be Jared Goff sometimes, just like Sam Darnold, right? But that defense, they got after it. So as long as Daniels is slinging it, I don't even care about their run game. They have Robinson and Eckler back there. And, I mean, those guys, they can bust one here and there. But as long as that receiving core is so good and they're all on the same page, and you never see guys over top of another guy. They're always doing what they should be doing, and as long as that's the case, I think the Commanders might have this game.
So are you picking the Commanders?
I am.
Oh, the ball's on you, Carl.
Well, I want to blow up the whole thing. Now that my original picks are gone, I want Bills Commanders, and I want like a 12 overtime game. Like let's just get this thing going. Like I don't want no ties. Let's just fucking keep playing football. So yeah, I mean, I think the Commanders, they're sound everywhere, and I was glued to that Detroit game because that was my pick, and I put my whole mortgage on it. So I was glued to that game, and the fact that they didn't, they just exposed Detroit in so many areas that I thought Detroit was better than them. And look what we got. We got Commanders walking away with a win. So I think Philadelphia with the fire, we talked about them last week a little bit. I think with their firepower, they're underachieving, right? They should be averaging 30, 40 a game with some of the guys they have. And they're not doing it. Jalen Hurts is not that downfield quarterback. He's a run first guy. I think they played in the snow, but AJ Brown had 2 catches for 14 yards. So, I don't know. I just don't see the Eagles coming out of this, but again, I've been wrong before. So,
well, we talked a little bit about they've got the best skill group. They've got a great offensive line. Their defense secondary can be suspect. Now their defensive line is really, really good. And again, that's why I think they could give Kansas City fits or Buffalo fits, especially Kansas City with the bad offensive line. But I mean, they've got Carter. They've got some good defensive linemen for Philly. They seem to have underachieved with all of the big weapons. Devontae Smith is nowhere to be found for some reason. AJ Brown nowhere to be found, but Devontae Smith either, who is a fantastic player. It's been the Saquon Barkley show, but you're right. Read option is not the same when your quarterback can't run. So Jalen Hurts was limited in practice yesterday. I don't know. I didn't see anything today about him, but I think he's going to be gimping. So when you don't have to worry about that pull off of the option, and you can just focus on Saquon, which is kind of what Washington did last time they played him. And, and Dan Quinn is their coach, right? I mean, he's a defensive guy. He really knows what he's doing. And Jalen's slinging around. And yeah, I mean, you're talking about Robinson and Eckler. You mentioned them. That's pretty damn good tandem back there. And Terry McLaurin's no joke. And they've got some young guys playing receiver. And you're right, their defense is good. So, so Carl, you're going Buffalo and Washington. I think you're just spiting me at this point. You're just going opposite to whatever I say.
Whoever J-Mac's picking, I'm going opposite.
That's right. You're just going opposite. You're setting yourself up for the biggest gloat or the biggest, I'm going to come here and just dunk my nuts in your mouth after you're wrong. One of the two is going to happen. BJ, what do you think about this game, Eagles Commanders?
Yeah, Carl said a lot of it and covered it well. I think, what it's going to boil down to is this is one of those games where it's going to be boiled down to quarterbacks and defense. And with Hurts and the gimpy knee, there's one weapon gone. Like you said, the play action is, or the option is out. The read option's out. Their stars are underperforming, so it's a dink and dunk game. Then Washington's, all they got to do is focus on Saquon, and the rest of the game is so fundamental. It's they're the most fundamentally sound team I think I've watched this season, and they're consistent. That being said, Washington historically, me being a Washington fan since the 80s, have always gotten creamed by Philly in important games. So
yeah, there's history there. So are you picking Philly?
I mean, I don't think a right-minded person could pick Philly at this point. with their underperformance, like Garl said, an injured quarterback, only one weapon to focus on. His legs are going to be tired, the load they're going to be putting on Saquon. And with Washington just being so fundamentally sound, their quarterback being young but poised, making good decisions, their wide receiver core is nice. I have to give it to Commanders, but we'll say by a field goal.
I need you to say the Commanders will win. I need it on tape.
The Commanders will win.
Oh, you sons of bitches. You guys are both totally opposite me. Okay, fine. I will stand alone on my soapbox.
I don't know. Well, if Hurts pops off and everybody suddenly finds their wheels and hands again on offense, and maybe they got a shot.
Yeah. I just think there's something to be said for experience, and maybe Washington's a year away. Maybe I just have this gut feeling that there's just a year away, and the Eagle, even though I hate Sirianni as a coach, like what a fucking loser. Like his clock management is bad. I think their play calling is bad. I think Saquon has carried them, which is awesome, and I think that's great. But when it comes to nut cutting time, this is what the problem I have. Same with Buffalo. When it comes to nut cutting time, will they ride James Cook all the way in? When it comes nut cutting time, will Sirianni ride Saquon Barkley all the way in? And maybe he will, but I just feel like these guys, they get to these later stages of the game and they want their quarterbacks to win it. And I don't think Jalen Hurts, even healthy, if you shut down Saquon, can pass his way to a victory in this one. But I don't think they can shut Saquon down. So I think it's going to be a 31-28 type game. But I got to pick the Eagles. With Jaden Daniels, and we'll go back to Carl for this one. Is he the best rookie quarterback ever? And I want to show you guys something that I saw on the interweb. And I'll share it with you. And this is just an opinion of a sports writer of the top 10 rookie seasons in NFL history. And it's already fucked up because you start with Caleb Williams at number 10. I mean, it's not really a good starting point there. But, I mean, you've got Rush, you've got Herbert, you've got Griffin, you've got Stroud, you've got Roethlisberger. And Jane Daniels sitting up on top of that. Is he number one, Carl? Is he the best rookie quarterback that we've seen, or did he have the best rookie season that we've ever seen?
Well, and how are we defining season, right? I mean, he's put up great numbers. He's the come from behind victories, I think, is what stands out the most for me in his fourth quarter efficiency. The guys that were announcing the game last week couldn't say enough about it, right? The guy is just not phased. Doesn't care what the score is. He's doing his thing and he's finding ways to win. But when you look at this list right here, yes, he's at top of this list. Russ had a damn good defense, right? And I think Pete Carroll managed Russ really well. Similar, Dan Quinn, you look at that Pete Carroll tree, right? And Dan Quinn, similar type things, but I've said he's opened that playbook up a lot more. They're airing that thing out a lot more than Russ did. So, Herbert put up great stats, but didn't have the run in the playoffs, right? So, yeah, I mean, Cam Newton was up there, different styles. But I think when you look at this list, it's like, and he's very well put himself in position to win this game. He goes to the Super Bowl, it's cemented. Like, I honestly think that he's the best rookie quarterback that we've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, there's no arguing that. What do you think, BJ?
I'd agree. But this is too. I'd put Robert Griffin 3 probably right behind him though. Just because he I don't know what it was like 15-5 passing, but he had 800 rushing yards too. He was like one of the most exciting people to watch that year. The rest, I don't know what CJ Stroud is doing up that high, or Caleb Williams even.
CJ Stroud had a really good year.
He did have a good year. I don't know if I've been educated enough to replace him with anybody else, but I thought that name looked a little odd that high up the list.
I think it's because he won a playoff game last year.
Yeah.
I would put Ben Roethlisberger number 2. When when I heard some of the talking heads on ESPN and things like that, I thought, in my lifetime, I think of Dan Marino had a very, very good rookie year, but he had a really good sophomore years when he threw 48 touchdowns in the era where everyone was only throwing 20. But he threw like 24 his rookie year, and Dan Marino was really, really good. But Roethlisberger, I want to say, was undefeated during the regular season and then went into the playoffs and made some noise. He didn't have super numbers. I don't even remember Dak Prescott. I remember Cam Newton being tough to bring down. Caleb Williams, I mean, he was kind of a vomit show this year at times. So I don't know how he got number 10.
Well, Dak was actually pretty good. He had, 23-4, 104 rating, 300 rushing yards.
Did you just look that up, Rain Man? How the fuck did you get those numbers?
Oh, I got them. I got them all.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
The crazy thing is if Dak played like that now, they would be still in the conversation.
Right. They'd still be playing. Yeah, but that thing's a dumpster fire, and that's a discussion for another day on who's going to be their head coach. Man, it's just a mess. But yeah,
America's
you're right.
Team.
Yeah.
Well, and if CJ Stroud was still playing like that, they might still be playing. I mean, they never know. They could have beat the Commanders, but
I think CJ Stroud is good. And look, he's lost Tank Dell twice, right? His receiving core is subpar at best. We've talked about that before. Nico Collins is maybe the biggest name they have in that whole building offense.
Oh, for sure.
So, you add Joe Mixon this year. Their O-line is just putrid. I think CJ Stroud, like with his talent, and he just doesn't have I don't think he has the team or necessarily the guys around him to do what these other guys have done. But Jaden Daniels, I mean, the fact that this guy's, 24? I mean, he's come in and he's not phased at all. And it certainly shows there's some people that need to be reevaluated for their draft decisions. So, and this is a conversation. I mean, I said this thing. Caleb Williams he's not the guy. Like he just isn't the guy.
I need to reevaluate because I didn't think Jaden Daniels was the guy. I didn't think he was this good and this poised and this accurate. I knew he was fast and I knew he was a decent quarterback, but it's really hard to tell with LSU quarterbacks. And the same thing with Burrow. You get 1 year of great, and is he that good? Because he's throwing. Burrow had a couple receivers that are all pro. I mean, he had Chase and what's his name for the Vikings? Jefferson.
Yeah.
And so he's throwing to guys that are 5 yards past. So you never really know. And then he comes in, and Burrow's done a great job. I didn't think Jaden Daniels would be this good this early and this poised. But to come back, you really have to have ice in your veins to come back in the NFL. And that's why the comeback stats are the great ones have the good stats, right? So we'll see. I mean, he's on a road where he's on a rookie contract too, and that's always good because then you can build around him for a few years. Where some of these other guys aren't on rookie contracts, so you have to think about that. Kansas City just doesn't give a fuck. I mean, Kansas City is about the only one who can pay Mahomes, but they still find a way to place good people around him. Again, that's just good GMing. Philadelphia's done a pretty good job of putting guys around Hurts and paying him too. So, but this all circles back to 20 minutes ago. The windows are so tight. So Washington, I think, needs to get all in the next 2 or 3 years. And if they don't win it this year, but they just need to go all in and make this a special run.
Can you imagine if they win it this year? I mean, Jaden, like everybody's going to want to go to Washington, and B, like that he's going to get his salary is going to. I mean, it's going to be astronomical. He's going to do things that we haven't seen in ever. I mean, as far as what a rookie quarterback is accomplishing.
The first person that'll want to go to Washington is Kevin Durant.
Yes.
He'll want to sign. He'll be like, you know what? My next chapter, I'm going to play receiver. I want a ring. All right, so we're all in with Jaden Daniels. We've got our picks in. It's going to be great. I told you guys before the show, I'm excited to watch the games this season. I don't watch games during the regular season. I watch Red Zone. And when it gets to playoffs, and especially when it gets to now to conference championships, I really enjoy sitting down and watching the play after play after play after play. And then really seeing, because I don't want to watch, I don't want to watch the Raiders and sit down and watch a game during the regular season. I don't want to watch the Seahawks right now. I want to watch the best of the best. And I think we've got 4 good ones here. We are, before we get out of here, we're going to do, you guys know how I love my lightning round. Get to know you.
Here we go.
And because you never know what it's gonna be. So I chose some of these because, I mean, obviously, I grew up with Mix here. Cutthroat, I've known you since you were in 8th grade. And I think about you back when we're childhood, and I thought of some of these questions that are just brought up. So let me pull up my screen here for you. Now we're going to start. Carl, don't say anything. BJ, I want you to answer this first, and then we'll go to Carl, and we'll bounce back and forth with these. Okay?
All right.
Okay. How do you pronounce that product?
Those are crayons.
Carl?
Crayons.
Okay. Just making sure, because a lot of people say
I'm not a crayon guy. I'm not a crayon.
Crowns. All right. Yes. So you never know. Oops. You never know if you can go crown. All right. These are 1992 Olympic cups. McDonald's put these out as, back in the day, they used to always have these novelty cups. And you would go to McDonald's and you'd get one. Or, I mean, people have done these, right? Burger King's done these. 7-Eleven's done these novelty cups. And we'll go back to BJ, and we grew up and we had all sorts of novelty cups. What was your go-to novelty cup when you were a kid?
Oh, the go-to novelty cup. We actually had novelty glasses.
Yeah, we did.
That I believe are sold by the A&W franchise.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
And actually, I still have it. It's a Shazam glass from the A&W series, about 1978.
That is fantastic. That just takes me back. The Shazam glass. Carl, did you guys have novelty cups in the house when you were a kid?
Yep, and I believe my mom still has my go-to, which was the Clyde Drexler Rip City. It was a glass.
Yep.
But yeah, kind of had the cartoon picture on the side with Clyde on it.
Yep, and I know exactly what you're talking about. They did that during the Rip City era. They did caricatures of all the players. And, I believe we had some of those too. I believe we had a Buck Williams and a Jerome Kersey and Clyde. And we had a couple of those floating around. So, novelty cups, always great when you're a kid.
I thought you were going to ask us to identify the players on those cups, because I was squinting my eyes. I think
no. This is purely just for show, to make our viewers a little more interested. So we're back to BJ here. Is this ground beef or is this hamburger meat?
Oh man, see, it's all contextual. So right there, that's ground beef. If I were balling it up into patties, it'd be hamburger meat.
So what about when you buy it at the store before you do anything with it? Do you call it ground beef or do you call it hamburger meat?
So coming from like a restaurant and cooking background, I refer to it by its fat versus protein content. So I'll call it 1090 beef or 80-20 beef. 80-20 is great for smash burgers, just in case you're wondering. But yeah, I just call it beef.
Okay, I thought you were going to say, coming from a white trash background, we call it hamburger meat.
It's always back there. Where's that sloppy Joe meat?
Yeah, I mean, it really is anything you can do. But I mean, I'm thinking about childhood. Like when you grew up, was this ground beef or was this hamburger meat, Carl?
Oh, when I was growing up, hamburger meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is hamburger meat for me.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, it's just I think we all grew up around about with the same socioeconomical background.
But there's beans in there. That's fancy.
Oh yeah, you probably didn't look at the picture long enough. Somebody's making chili out of that shit. All right, so now let's get up to a little bit older, BJ, in your adult life here. What's your go-to karaoke song? Karaoke machines there. You have to sing. There's no choice. What's your go-to karaoke song? Now, keep in mind, I've heard you karaoke, but what are you going to do first?
I've changed recently, and so I'm going to do something from the Creed catalog, because the only way I'm going up there to do karaoke is if someone bugs the shit out of me, and I'm going to pick some irritating, annoying song. So I'm either going to do something by Creed or Stained.
Stained. You lost me. You had me at Creed. I was still with you. Stained is beyond my catalog.
Go look up some Stained.
Yeah, if Stained didn't have like Nate Dogg in the background at some point, I probably don't know who they are.
Yeah, this is some 2000s rock that is widely frowned upon. So
okay, so you're basically going up on stage as a fuck you. Like if you're gonna make me sing, I'm gonna scream. And
if you're gonna listen to this voice sing because you forced me up here, then you're gonna have to listen to 8 minutes of crappy rock and roll.
Yes. Now, Carl. Again, I've seen my brother karaoke once, and he did do Ring of Fire. And so he did Straight Man in Black and went Johnny Cash on it, and he did a hell of a job. I was surprised. Carl, you get thrown up on the stage, man. What are you belting out?
So I am not the karaoke person. My wife is, and she does a whole performance to Tainted Love. I mean, she comes out of the fucking women's room and like puts on twirlies, and it's a show. I'll share the video later. It's a show. But when she does drag me on stage, Hank Williams Jr., Country Boy Can Survive is my go-to song.
Interesting, especially knowing your background. But I know that you have a wide berth when it comes to music.
Look, if I'm in the hood with my boys, we're throwing Regulators on and we're singing it all night long. But yeah, like 9 out of 10 times that Country Boy Can Survive, just because I could fucking yell it and no one really cares.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like Kenny Rogers, the Gambler, man. I can just yell it and everyone will sing along with it. Yep. So if you pick something that everybody else will sing along, you can just kind of hold out the mic and then they'll sing it. So yeah, I swing from Notorious B.I.G. to Kenny Rogers. So it's a wide berth for myself as well. All right. Couple more here. BJ, how often do you wear cologne?
I can't tell you the last time I wore cologne. Now, if you count beard oil, every day.
What does your beard oil smell like? Is it like teak?
It is. People at work describe it as sort of like an incense smell, something like a Nag Champa.
What's that word you just said?
Nag Champa. You go into the convenience stores and they have the incense in the blue box. That's what it is. That's
Nag Champa.
Sandalwood, and I guess it does have some Egyptian cologne in it. I don't know if that's a cologne or if that's just what they call it, but yeah, sort of insensual.
Wow. The aggregate, not just entertaining, but educational as well. Carl, how often do you slap on the cologne?
I got cologne on every day.
You're an everyday guy.
Yeah, I even put on mine has like a little roll stick, right? So I roll it onto the forearm or onto the neck. Even on days where I'm going to go train, like as an MMA fighter, I know it sounds a little fruity, but I hate rolling around the mats with guys that stink, right? And,
I hate when my wrestling buddy stinks.
Yeah. And I don't want to smell like Axe body spray, right? So for me, it's cologne, and it's always, a little bit nice when your partner goes, man, you smell good. Like,
Yeah.
That's it. That says a lot about you, Carl. I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's always cool when the guy's on the mat with you and he says you smell good. Now, when he reaches back and tugs your sack, you probably want to call it quits at that point. You're smelling a little too good. But yeah, no, that's and so BJ talked about his beard oil. What are you wearing nowadays, Carl? What's the go-to scent?
Man, I've got there's a store up on I'll murder the name, but it's their number 5 bottle is what I know. It's on Northwest 23rd. It's not like a big distributor. It's some small kind of a mom and pop store, but it is very like, how do you say this without sounding like hippie? It's kind of like outdoorsy. Like it's honestly like it's like more natural than perfumey. Like it's, it's like it's yeah, I want to say earthy, right? But it's not. I don't wear Keens and go, on strike. So it's not that. But.
So are you wearing essential oils or do they call it cologne?
So it's called perfume. Yeah, but I've gotten into essential oils as well. I also use some beard oils and, I'll rub some stuff on my head too, but yeah, I'll smell like a fucking whatever walking through the store, right? I got every smell on me, so including some pussy down below. So no, don't
Wow.
The aggregate has just gone into the R rating category.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if it pulls, but apparently it does.
Wow. And here I am. I wear eternity. I just feel so stupid. All right. Last one we are going to do here. And look at these white people having such a good time. So you go to a wedding. Diana wants to dance, BJ. Do you dance?
Mm-hmm. No.
What about a slow dance?
Maybe a slow dance is much better with a cane to do that.
Okay. Let's just say let's reverse this a few years back. Let's say like pre-cane, would you dance at a wedding?
I would, but it would be tempered by how much I was threatened.
Okay. Does Diana like to dance at functions?
Yeah, and she will dance with other people too, and that's fine. You go have your fun. Last time she volunteered on this cruise thing for Meals on Wheels, she was the life of the party because she was dancing with all the old dudes out there. They had a live band and everything. She got to have her fun.
Yeah,
it's all
so
good.
A bunch of old guys on a cruise. There was no indecent proposal there, was there?
I haven't seen any money yet, so I don't know.
That doesn't mean anything. I asked if there was a proposal. Maybe she just kept it.
There have been a lot of new things in the house lately.
There's a lot of new things, and there's an old guy named George that's sniffing around the parking lot.
I thought he was the gardener.
So, Carl, are you a dancer at weddings?
Yes. My wife, social butterfly. So yes, I will be dancing at the wedding. Now I will say, now that I'm sober, I don't dance like I used to dance. I used to be a little bit more wild, and each song would play, another button would come off the shirt, right? So before you know it, that shirt was off. I was that guy. But
okay.
Definitely toned it down over the last couple of years. So
yeah, so you're dancing at the wedding. Slow dances, fast dances, and line dances? Are you the trifecta?
Shit, if we're line dancing, those boots are coming on and the hat's staying on, I'm going.
Yeah, you've got that cowboy look down, man. You've got that urban cowboy thing going on.
Yep, you catch me at Bushwhackers on a Thursday night cutting it up in there. So,
oh, fantastic! All right, inside information here on the aggregate. Well, fantastic. So that's all we're going to do today. A little get to know you, get your minds flowing a little bit, and get to know our talking heads. BJ, anything else? Any closing thoughts you have about this weekend NFL playoffs before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want everybody to keep in mind that that NFL narrative. They're going to be doing some NBA thing. and I want to see the two young quarterbacks. We could have a Jaden Daniels handoff from Patrick Mahomes. Could be a thing. I'm just thinking from a purely marketing standpoint right now, but sure would be nice for them to pass it on to the new young kid, especially for expecting him to be the new big superstar.
Yeah, that's true. This could be a handoff, or it could be a handoff to Josh Allen. I mean,
could be a handoff to Josh Allen,
or it could be Patrick Mahomes doing what hasn't been done in the Super Bowl era, winning 3 in a row and just torching everybody's hopes and dreams. He is the villain right now. Carl, any thoughts on the games before we get out of here?
I just hope it's good football. And I think we will get spoiled this weekend as football fans. We all agree. I think it's going to be close games. I don't see any blowout potential. And yeah, I mean, either way you spin it, there could be a storyline, right? Which I think is cool for the NFL, right? You could have Jaden Daniels, you could have Saquon Barkley, you could have Josh Allen, you could have Pat Mahomes doing something that's never been done. So, NFL's not dumb, right? They're in it for the money too. And shit, my bank account will tell you that. So,
I think that's a great point, because you either have the Eagles looking for redemption against whoever, and you've got the 2,000-yard rusher in a passing league. You've got the rookie quarterback. You've got Mahomes going for a three-peat. Or you've got Josh Allen not only playing for his own legacy, but the legacy of the Bills losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. And so no matter who goes to the Super Bowl, you're going to have 2 compelling stories.
Yep.
I think you're right. We are really spoiled this year. There's a lot of good stuff in a lot of ways all this can land. So, we'll get in one more show. I know there's a couple weeks between the playoffs and the Super Bowl. We'll get in at least one more show before the Super Bowl. We'll hit the reset button on our predictions, and we'll reseed, and we'll talk about who we've got for the Super Bowl. And we're going to talk about our favorite Super Bowl foods and what we like to eat, because Super Bowl is really like Thanksgiving part 2, right? It's like this follow-up to Thanksgiving that's more about the food and the commercials sometimes than it is the game. So, thanks for being on again. BJ was a last-minute addition on this, and we were able to snag him. That was awesome. Carl, thanks for hanging in there. Power outages and things going on there and finishing up the show. We'll see you guys next time on The Aggregate. Have a good night.